Okay. Hi, Mimi. So tonight's episode, it's about religion and sex, which not a heavy topic at all. How's your night going? How am I going? I was actually just about to I'm just going to answer before you even ask the question. I'm doing pretty good. It is Carnival in my city. I'm in Toronto. It's Caravana weekend. So I have a lot of family. Like a lot. And I'm so happy, as you can tell. So happy. But how's your night going? Hopefully it's going well. Sunday evenings usually, like, knock on wood, usually go well. But yeah, topic's gonna be pretty heavy today. Happy for you, thank you. You said it's going well. That's good. I'm resting for work. Oh, you have work later? Is that what it is? Feel like work later? Yeah. That's what I'm feeling. Okay. When I was researching religion and sex, I thought this was going to be easy. I really did. I thought it would be easy. And when I was looking up stuff, it would be like, okay, I have everything. I know exactly what I want to do. And then found so much information. Not to say I didn't think that there was going to be a lot, but so much. You know when you go in that like Google wormhole, you start searching one thing and you click a link, and then you see another one that you're like, ooh, I didn't think of that. And you click that link, and then all of a sudden it's like 2 hours later, and you're looking at like cats who sound like Morgan Freeman on YouTube. It's just the craziest, the Google wormhole. So yeah, I went down a wormhole for religion and sex. And I wanted to, obviously, because usually the topics, no matter what they are usually about sex, and we talk about like our links to it, me being a Black woman. So I tried to find connections to the Black community because we don't talk about it often enough. We already don't talk about sex often enough. And we get talked at about religion. We don't actually talk about religion. That's what I think. I think you'd have somebody preaching at you, but there's never an actual like conversation about religion. That's what I think. But yeah, religion and sex. So the first for me was the Christian influence. When I was doing research, it said that the Bible contains 96 verses denouncing harlots, whores, whoredom, and branding females as vile temptresses. Like, that's insane. Insane. Yeah, I'm saying it just like that. Insane. Hey, Gemini Rule. 90. Here's the thing. Like, I grew up in church. I did. And I did read my Bible. I did. But I didn't know there were 96 verses. 96 verses denouncing harlots, whores, whoredom, and branding females as vile temptresses. Vile temptresses. Hate screen. There's also a verse where brides who aren't virgins shall be taken to their father's doorsteps and stoned to death. another about how adulterers must be killed, and then another that says, gay males shall surely be put to death, their blood shall be upon them. I just wanted like a couple verses of sex mentioned in the Bible. And that's the Christian influence. I gave Christian because I know usually we just talk about like Catholicism and the negativity with that, but I was like, we're gonna go across the board. I was raised in Catholic school, and in Trinidad I went to government school, but my grandmother was Baptist. No, my grandmother was not Baptist. Oh my God, I would get in so much trouble for saying that. My grandmother was Methodist, and so we would go to that church in Trinidad. But up here, I don't know if there weren't as many Methodist churches, or if it was just more my mom wanting to be like, to get you into Catholic school, we have to act Catholic. That I only went to church for like all the Catholic events and like school events, especially when I started getting into choir. Yeah, it would be for school events. So not that you guys need to know that, but yeah, now you know. I was a Catholic schoolgirl, had the kilt and everything. Yo, that kilt, and the thing is, what I loved about my kilt, well, first of all, what I loved about my mother was that I got my kilt because we went to the store. My mother was ready to like buy out the store. And for some reason, I was that little kid that kind of knew what we could and couldn't afford to an extent. Not to say that my parents made that aware to me, but for some reason I worried about stuff like that. And so my mom got me like 2 kilts, a long sleeve sweater, short sleeve sweater, and she wanted to buy me like the school shirts, the button-up shirts. And I was like, Mom, that makes no sense. If I'm wearing the sweater, I can wear a white button-up shirt. It doesn't have to have the stupid logo on it. So I get my kilt. My kilt is like past my knees. And I was like, I really want to cut this kilt, but I can't. My mother's never going to let me cut a kilt just to make it shorter so I could look cute. And the first day of school, my mother gave me my kilt and was like, I hemmed it for you. My mother hemmed my kilt. I looked so cute. Like, I looked like such a little hoe. It was just telling you, y'all know your mama loves you until she hems a skirt for you, and you know people are gonna notice. It's just, I love my mama. Like, honestly, I almost cried that day. I was like, oh my God, I'm not gonna look like a weirdo. Because literally everyone I knew, I had friends from my grade school who had gone to the same high school. So everyone I knew that was already in that school, they'd all cut their kilts. I was like, I can't go I look like some dowdy child. No. I'm trying to look like a grown woman at 14. The things I did at 14 that any of my nieces did, I think I'd have a heart attack. Okay, so I talk about Christian influence. Thanks, Jim, and I really like the green in the hair. It's actually it's funny because my sister was like, oh, we didn't see you. You were dyeing your hair. I'm like, this is spray. Like, this is temporary hair color. It's just spray. I'm actually surprised how bright the green is. In a good way. Like, I'm happy about it. But I was just like, oh, shocked that it actually showed up. But yeah, it washes out in like 1 shampoo, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, 1 shampoo. But I love it. I think, and even I don't know if I have it. Oh, I can see it from here. Even the spray can, it was like, it's super cheap. Like, I was just like, how can something be super cheap and be super bright and show up in natural black hair? Like, what? No one knows about this. I'll buy them all. That's me. I'd be like, I will take 47 of them Thank you very much. And then people would wonder, why do you still have stock of something that's discontinued 4 years later? Because I buy so many, because then I freak out. Okay, so Islamic influence I'm adding, because the way I saw it was most people in the Black community that I know in the States, I feel like would be under Christian influence or Muslim influence. And here it would be maybe Christian and Muslim, and I would say like even Hindi, just because I know even in Trinidad, that's one of the main religions. So I was only going to focus on that, or else we would be going through like religion on religion on religion, and religions that I don't even know about you. It's Greeny said I might need to get some of that spray. Let me, you know what? I can actually lean over and get it, cause it's dope. Okay, so that's the spray. Be Wild. And apparently there's like 2 different versions of it, but I found both of them worked perfectly fine. But yeah, it's just like an aerosol. They say to spray it in open air, and I did the first time I sprayed it, and then the second time was late at night, so I just sprayed in the bathroom with the fan on. And if you just do quick spurts, the smell is not as bad as even some hairsprays. So yo, they have like, the colors they have too is like bright pink and orange and purple. Oh, the purple. I'm actually saving the purple because I was like, okay, if the green doesn't work, I won't be as disappointed. But you know when it's your favorite color? And then if it wasn't as bright, I'd be like, my heart died a little bit that day. That's how it would feel. So I was like, I'll start with the green. And then when I saw it, I was like, oh, I like this. Also, it doesn't transfer that much to your hands. Even when you're spraying it. When it was dry, it kind of, certain strands might have gotten a little crunchy if I was touching it too much. But even when it was coming off, it comes off in like a dust. So, and I was able to like literally brush it off my hands, forehead, whatever. But, yeah, I don't think it stained anything, but I've had it this way since last night because I wanted to see if it would transfer onto anything, stain my clothes or anything like that. But it's actually been pretty good. Pretty good. I might have to go buy 47 of them now, you know? But sometimes it's just nice. I've never dyed my hair. I have virgin hair. I told this guy once, I was like, there's parts of me that are still virgin. And he was like, where? It's like, really? It didn't need to be that way. You didn't have to do the ha-ha. You could have just said, oh, really? Like, there's different ways to say stuff, okay? Different ways to say stuff. You could have done, really? I could have dealt with that, but the ha-ha, where? Where on you is I'm hey, you must have had a virgin Shirley Temple, man. What she talking about? I didn't need all of that. I let it go though, but still it hurt. Just a little bit. It really did hurt a little bit. Yeah, and I wanted to dye my hair. And I'd asked my sister, because my sister had dyed her hair. And she was like, as much as she loved the color, she was like, natural hair, it's just, you can't. And I started seeing most of my friends that had their hair dyed and had natural hair, their hair is really short. And not necessarily because of hair dye, but even my mom has her hair dyed red. And if she doesn't like the color, she just shaves it out and does a different color. So I was like, I don't want to damage my hair. I guess I won't damage it. But I want color. I want color like other people. I want color, but don't call me colored. Should be a shirt. Yeah, so Islamic faith and their influence. So sexuality is a sin. Girls are a danger to the relationship between man and God. And it says in a study done by Sobia Ali Faisal, 2/3 of young Muslims who had had intercourse engaged in premarital sex, which is prohibited in Islam. 50% of young Muslims who had not had sex before marriage had considered doing the deed. The study also found that Muslims ranked higher in negative sexual self-judgment, which contributed to a lack of sexual knowledge, and also showed that one of the sources of sex education for most young Muslims was media. So I know that was like a lot of facts, because even when I read it the first time, I was like, so we're gonna read that again. But I wanted to put it out there because obviously we'd be talking about our age and younger, and I feel like the common thread, even from Muslims to any other religion, is just you've scared young people into, and when I say young people, I include at any point that you had your first negative interaction with somebody who used their reasoning as being religion. And I'll tell you later why I say it like that. But I feel like you bully young people into this thing and then tell them that faith involves not asking any questions, or like just blindly going along with whatever is said, and it's not true. And so then they have absolutely no knowledge, that even when in a positive way, I feel like no knowledge turns into in a positive way, no knowledge would turn into this is just examples, but I am homosexual and I don't embrace it because I was never taught about sex and sexuality enough to know that I can explore it. In a negative way, I feel like it translates to, as an example, that you could be sexually abused or be somebody who commits sexual abuse because you were never taught that sexuality and sex is okay, while also still having faith in whatever religion that you believe in. So I wanted to get sort of an understanding, like for myself, I consider myself spiritual. And I say that only because, yes, I was raised in Christian faiths and Christian influences, but Caribbean people, and I only say this because it's what I know, Caribbean people have always seemed to be able to balance between religious influences and folklore influences. And I know that's similar to various African cultures. I know that's similar to even various Black American cultures. So it's weird. I knew I couldn't question, actually, no, I feel like I was always able to question my faith with my family. Like my grandmother reading me Bible stories and me asking, why did you do this or what? My grandmother was never upset about being questioned. If anything, they encouraged that, because questioning meant you were interested, you were engaged. So my grandmother or my aunt or my mom reading me Bible stories, it was interactive, because yeah, as a kid you're like, what? Like, why would it be 2 by 2 on this boat, and why would he have made it rain, and why did these people, I remember asking stuff like that, like, why would he wipe out the entire world, and just things like that. They love the questions, right? It's green. You said I was raised Baptist, but I had too many unanswered questions slash issues with it. And that's the thing. I think I feel like, I don't know, and let me know, like, what age do you feel you started getting those questions? Because for me, it was high school. It was going to a Catholic high school and studying world religions. And we had 5 religions that we were doing. So it was Catholicism, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, and Hinduism. And we were allowed to ask questions on, you know, Islam, Judaism, Buddhism, and Hinduism. And when we got to Catholicism, our teacher, who was also the priest at our school, refused to answer my questions. He was just like, you should have faith. You should just have faith. Why would you ask a question like that? You should have faith. And I couldn't understand that, because I was like, as I feel like across the board, when you come from a Black family, unless you have parents that are like inattentive, they encourage us asking questions. They may not always encourage when we do it, like in the middle, like when they're on the phone. Child, I on the phone right now. Oh God, nah. Like, not those times, but I feel like they've always encouraged you learning in some way, shape, or form. Some Black person in your family has been like, no, like, if I can do anything I can to make sure, because especially the ones that didn't get as far in their education, they're pushing you further, right? So it's green. So we learned about 0 religions in school. You know what? It wasn't like we learned it, but then it was kind of like, now we're at the religion that we all should be, because we're in this Catholic school, and so you should believe it blindly. And I think they thought like this will show them how great their religion is, but it did the opposite, or what anybody else would feel, was that I started to look at other religions and think, I don't think mine's as great as I thought it was. And it's funny, I started to identify a little bit with certain teachings of Islam. And I remember my mother being like terrified. She's like, you're gonna become a Muslim now? I was like, I just identify with stuff. Like, I identify with peace and love and doing good for your fellow man, stuff like that. But you know, you can't tell your mother that, oh yeah, and I read in Nation of Islam that oh God, now you'll become like Muhammad Ali, you're gonna change your name now. No, Mom, that is not what I said. Hey, Mr. SJ. So I appreciate the fact that I was able to, like you said, you didn't get the experience, it's green, of learning other religions. So I appreciate that I get the ability, I received the ability to learn other languages. But it was hard because growing up, at least the connections that my grandmother, I would say, so the connections that her religion had with Catholicism, it almost felt like questioning my religion and them telling me that was wrong was like, what? So you're telling me what my grandmother taught me was wrong? Because for her, religion was questioning and talking about it and communing with God on a regular basis, and that didn't have to be always on your knees bowed in prayer. Not to say that we weren't on our knees bowed in prayer, but yeah, it was a little weird. I think it was harder going to Catholic school. And then of course, I don't care what anybody says, the stereotypes are true. Catholic schoolgirls, first of all, Catholic schoolgirls are really good, like really good at lying. Catholic schoolgirls are great at lying. And 2, they are some freaks. They sure are. They sure is. Hey, who is Jenna? Yeah, Catholic school is whatever stereotypes you've probably heard about it. Catholic school is that. It really is. I loved grade 11. I don't know what that is, because we didn't use, at least back then, but we didn't use the same terms they use in the States, like freshman and junior and stuff like that. But yeah, grade 11, I had some fun in grade 11. I also got suspended in grade 11. Was that grade 11? Yeah, it was grade 11. I got suspended. And it totally wasn't my fault, okay? It wasn't. Thank you, Jenna, for loving the hair. Yeah, we were talking about it earlier. That it's just like a spray dye, which I shared. Cause it's dope. Like, tell the suspension story. I mean, okay, but it really wasn't my fault. So, I went to school, duh, and I was that weird nerd that was like, I really need to get to school on time. Who was I then? Get to school on time. Yeah, so for some reason, I would sometimes meet my then boyfriend in the mornings from like, obviously outside of my house, to the subway station. We would walk to the subway station together. And so walking to the subway station, I don't know that my boyfriend has placed a large knife in my bag. So I go to school, and at the lunch table, I think somebody had asked me for like a pen or pencil, something, and was like, it's going to nerd high five, nerd high five. I was just like, I need to be at school. Like, school starts at 8:30. I actually should be there at like 8 o'clock because I need to get my mind in the educational mindset. Like I was that person like hanging out. Well, first of all, I always had friends that were older than me, and I would hang out in the grad locker room in the mornings. Like, grads would walk in like, the hell? Why are you here? And your eyes are open. Gemini, you said, yes, I know. Had friends in Catholic school, and the public school boys said they were the biggest freaks. They really, you know what it is, though? I feel like, at the end of the day, a Catholic school girl is just a girl in a Catholic school uniform. So at the end of the day, girls are freaks. Like, there are girls that are freaks, and I think they hear Catholic and think, oh, you're supposed to be the goody two-shoes, and some of them were, but most of them weren't, enough that I was like, why is this still a stereotype? But okay. But yeah, so lunchtime, I tell a friend, oh yeah, whatever it is that she wants to borrow, it's in my backpack. And she reaches into the backpack and she's like, what the hell is this? And as she does that, it like flicked open. And as it flicked open, the racist vice principal walks into the lunchroom and is like, you, my office right now. And so I had automatic suspension because I brought a weapon onto school property. So, that was probably the scariest car ride home because I didn't even call my parents. They called my parents to tell them. And I just remember thinking, should I call somebody? Because like I'm gonna die. Like I'm not coming back to school after the suspension because my parents will kill me, and I'm like 98% sure that both of them can hide a dead body very well, possibly forever. So I don't know if I should like call a friend and give like your last respects, like you were always a good friend to me. You gave me a pad when I didn't have one that day, like stuff like that. I thought I would have to do. And the joke is, what made it worse is that I'm in the vice principal's office, and he's just like, "Where did the knife come from?" And I'm like, I know this is gonna sound crazy, but I don't know, because of course I didn't know. And so I get home. I can't remember what punishment I got, but I sneak like my phone, and I call my boyfriend, of course, crying like, oh man, I don't know how this got in my bag. Like, I literally sounded like Schwarzenegger. And he was like, oh yeah, I dropped it in there because we're walking past the police station. And I just looked at the phone and I hit end. And I put the phone on the bed and then I got myself under the covers and pretty sure I listened to Alanis Morissette, but I went to bed. Because only Alanis could capture the rage that I was feeling. Only Alanis Morissette could really capture the rage. This man was like, oh. And y'all, don't even think like, oh, maybe he was a weed smoker. You know what I mean? Like, he never smoked weed a day in his life. He never drank. He was like, I never do those things. And I was like, me neither. Well, except for the drinking, but you know that. But when he was like, oh yeah, I forgot to tell you, like, that's the tone he gave me. And I was like, I can't. Like, I was like, I gotta go to bed or I'm gonna kill somebody. I will kill someone. And now, what makes it even worse, you think I could go back to my Black parents and say, aha, I have found out the true story. The reason the knife ended up in my rucksack is because my friend that is a male dropped it in there in the morning as I walked to the subway station to school. Spoiler alert. You didn't know I walked with my boyfriend to the subway station in the morning. That whole, like, I think that was the night that, like, Zero Fucks for me was born. I didn't know it then how to put it into words as an emotion, but I just remember I was like, fuck you and fuck you, definitely fuck you. Like, I hated everybody. And I think I was suspended for like 3 days. Was it 3 days? I think it was 3 days. The worst 3 days of my life. Obviously did not get the attendance award that year. That one still pisses me off. 3 days. 3 days. I'm actually more pissed off about the attendance award, guys, than the suspension. I was just like, I mean, I was a rock star at school because they already thought it was, people thought I was mean. I know. I don't know where they got it from. No, I couldn't. Expulsion, it was like, I'm fortunate I got suspension. But yeah, I was a pretty good student back then. And lucky enough that vice principal wasn't the only vice principal, and the female at least stuck up for me just a little. That's what it is at Screen. And on that night, her fucks died. Like, I was just like, there's so many people that I don't like right now. I don't like my ex-boyfriend because I don't like the girl that went into my bag and thought, oh, I see a knife, let me pull it out in the fucking cafeteria. I don't like the racist vice principal, even though I did get him fired before I left school. And I didn't like my parents because obviously I'm a teenager, I'm not supposed to. So there was just a lot going on. There was a lot going on. My teenage life was over. Okay, guys, it was over. But yeah, that's my suspension story. Almost ruined my life. No, he really didn't. So then, okay. So of course, how did I get him fired? That's gonna take, okay. Can I say it in a short story? Basically, I wrote an article and it got published in the school newspaper, and it just was me. It was really me ranting about hating the fact that we lived in these stereotypes because I had, for example, I had a Asian best friend at the time, and she was doing really horrible in math. But none of the math teachers would tutor her because Asians are supposed to be good at math. I would just different things. Like I would get stopped in the hallway and asked where another Black student is that I don't know or have ever heard of, and just different comments that vice principal used to make about my parents' income, or like being grateful that we came over here, just different things like that. So I wrote about it and I sent it to the editor, not thinking that she was going to publish it, and she put it on the front page. And then about 2 weeks later, different things happened in 2 weeks. I had like teachers crying to me, like, I hope I never made you feel that way. Oh my God. As a white woman, like, I have an ethnic name and I was always made fun of. Swear to God. That's what she said to me. Her name, everybody, was Pina. So she had an ethnic name and used to be bullied when she was younger. And I remember sitting there like, I'm maybe about 17 around then, 16, 17. I remember thinking, I know I'm not supposed to, like, I'm not well equipped for this conversation. This is for a therapist. This is not for a 16-year-old. But yeah, he got fired about 2-ish weeks after. Felt good. Felt real good. So then I got voted most likely to write controversial articles that get people fired. I loved it. I was like, this is the best category of most likely. Yeah, my yearbook says most likely to write controversial articles. And it's probably my favorite thing about the yearbook. It is my favorite thing about my yearbook. Yeah. Especially since I had so much to say in my yearbook thing that my short form, I have no clue I'm like, dude, did you not think this would age? Like, I have no clue what I was talking about. Absolutely. I tried to read it the other day because all of my yearbooks are here. And I have no clue what was said. No clue. So yeah. So when I was thinking about religion and the Black community, I mean, obviously, it's played such a huge role. Obviously, in the States, you guys know, but even in the Caribbean, I mean, I don't know if it's still the same, but Jamaica has the most churches per square mile than anywhere in the world. And Jamaica's not, I mean, Jamaica's big, but just really think about that. The most churches per square mile in the world. It's Green, you said you've been writing fire since high school, huh? Stop. No, it really was a rant. I remember writing it and I think I showed it to my mom and I was like, Mom, does this sound like I'm just some angry Black woman? And she was like, who cares? Like, she's like, it's good, send it. What's the worst that'll happen? That she doesn't publish it and you already think she's not going to? And I was like, fair enough. I think if that's considered negativity, I think negativity always worked with me. Like, what's the worst case scenario? That you might get shot, at least you got your ice cream. I'm like, fair point. That would actually get me to the ice cream parlor. For us in Trinidad, church was not that far. And my mother is from like a small town outside of a big city. And so the town knew our family. And I think for most Black people, church wasn't just about, you know, organized religion being shoved down your throat. It was about community and activism and, you know, just a place where we could be ourselves, a place where you belonged. So I feel like it was, maybe I'm wrong, I don't know. I feel like it was a little different. And I'm not counting like even the people in my family. I'm not counting the ones who are so wrapped up in their religion. But it wasn't that, I don't know, I think along the same lines as like the way my grandmother would be happy when I would ask questions. It wasn't like there were just things that she said that I don't think I really tied towards religion, even though I knew it was tied towards religion. Like just something as simple as bless you, which seems very normal, but it's not, because I'm giving you blessings because what is it? I think, because honestly, guys, sometimes I don't know if the stories I was told are actually religious or actually folklore. That should be a game. Religious or folklore. That when you sneeze, your soul is leaving your body, and so you say bless you to make sure that your soul does not leave your body. Religion or folklore? Like, I don't know. I really don't. But yeah, it's like bless you is... And I actually met an atheist who was like, I don't say bless you. I say gesundheit. And I was like, oh. Okay, you could just say nothing. Because it'd be weird to be like, you. Huh? You. Okay. And you. It's Green, you said, when you sneeze, it's the devil trying to get in, is what I heard. And Jenny, you said you've never heard that one. See, like, so it must be, like, folklore. There's so many things, that, yeah, that I would learn from my grandmother, my aunts, my mom, that I'd be like, I don't know if it's true, but I'll be damned if I'm the one to try it. Like, I'm not going to be the one. I'm not going to. Let somebody else be the one that gets written up in the newspaper because they tried to do something and, like, turned into a pile of dust. I also came from a family that was very big on keeping me believing magic for a very long time. Hence my Disney VHS collection. So I really thought it was possible. Like, people can just disintegrate into a powder. And I'm not going to cause that to happen just because I want to look back. I'm not trying to turn into salt. Not me. And my Bible, like my children's Bible, well, one of my many hundreds of Bibles, Sapio and I were talking about this earlier, like, when you have a religious family, you always be getting Bibles. And I feel like it's like the rudest house gift to give because you can get a Bible real easily. Back in the day, you could get a Bible real easily. And yet I had the white with the gold trim pages. I think that's what I got at my baptism. I had the children's Bible with the pictures, and they fully did have a picture of the woman turned to a pile of salt. I was like, oh no. I can't go out like that. Like, that was my thought process. I had a black one that my grandma was like, you know, you could write in the margins, your own prayers. And I was like, write in the margins? I wasn't even gonna read it. And then my little King James that had to be in my bag because, of course, I would carry the Lord with me everywhere I went, and I should have his book with me. Just, you know how many of those red ones I had? Like, people were giving those out like candy. So many damn Bibles. So, like, at one point I thought they were multiplying, like, just so many Bibles. But I did love, and I had a Bible that was like a companion Bible, because it was supposed to be, I think it was Luke, it was either Matthew, Mark, Luke, or John. And they had a daughter called Deborah who wrote her own versions of the Gospels along with her dad. Not gonna lie, y'all, that book was dope. Because she would write the story, I guess, in like a teenage voice, which I'm guessing was to make certain stories more appealable or like more in layman's terms for us. But that actually was a dope book. My mom probably still has it because I was that kid that's like, Mom, I know I'm moving out, but if you touch my books, I will actually go to the court and disown you as my parent. And we talk about it all the time because she's like, she wasn't joking. Like, I was not joking. And then one time I was like, because she threatened to get rid of my Babysitter's Club books. And I was like, Mom, if you do that, Not only will I not hurt you right now, I will wait until you're old enough to be put in a home. I will leave you there. Like, you will be the crazy Black woman whose hair hasn't been combed, sitting in a wheelchair, just pushing herself with the one foot, and you just keep going in a circle. I will do that. And so she never touched my Babysitters Club books. But guys, it's not because I told her that. It's because she realized I never cracked the spine, and so they're probably profitable. The Adventures of Andie and her mom. It's Granny said children's Bibles were like grim tales. Just had a flashback. And the artists were just too good. Too good. Like, I actually remember the image of, like, I remember Moses parting the Red Sea, and I was like, that looks like straight blood. Nah. Why do y'all keep following this old white man? My mama told me you do not follow white people at all. Male or female. Unless it's my sister-in-law. But anybody else, you do not follow. She was like, I don't care if it's a friend that I introduced you to and was like, this is my best friend. We've known each other for the rest of our lives. If you see that best friend on the road and they're like, come in my car. Absolutely not if they are white. And I listened to my mom. I always listened to my mom. I really did. Gemini, you said never read a children's Bible. It's just, the stories would be a little, like, they would be geared towards a child, so they're in easier English, I guess, than, you know, what you would see in older New Testament. They'd always have, at the end of it, they would always let you know the Bible verses that they're basing the story off of. But the artists were in, like, it was just, some of them would haunt me. The one about Noah's Ark, oh my God. It's like Bob Ross painted that shit. I was like, oh my God, we're gonna die on a... And the funny thing is, I often wonder if that's why I have a fear of drowning. Because I actually am a very good swimmer. I was a lifeguard. And yet I have a fear of drowning. I think it might have been Noah and his ark. Especially because I was like, so we saving all the animals? Yes. Even the mosquitoes? Yes. Well, then I couldn't have been on the ark. Because I'm allergic to mosquitoes. So y'all would have gone through all of that, come out the ark into the sun, and be like, oh yeah, we're spies. And I die. From anaphylactic shock. Why would you save mosquitoes? Why would you save skunks? I'm sorry, I'm saying it. Why would you save the skunks? Why would you save the rats? How would you do that? If we're keeping spiders in the house, Mom, because they eat the flies, can't we just get rid of both? Can't we just kill two birds with one stone? Like, what? Just say. I don't like bugs. Just take them all out. Why are they being saved on the ark? It's great said, not the 1 foot. Just say. And didn't save unicorns. Thank you. Thank you. Gemini, I don't know how we was saving 2x2 roaches. Like, why are we saving them? Why? Why are we saving them? Is it, like, I hope they crawled through, like, slats in the ark and then died in the water. I hope they did. That's what I hope for them. I'm very sadistic when I kill bugs because I just feel like you came into my house, you had the whole of the outside world. That is a larger square footage than my space. And you decide to come into my space, but all of a sudden you can't get out. You flew in here, mosquito man, but you can't fly back out the door that you came through. Then you deserve to die. And the longer it takes you to die, the more sadistic I want to be with your death. My favorite death was a spider that got trapped in the tub and he couldn't climb up the sides. And I would just watch him and then squirt him with the spray and then watch him like sort of crumble and try to crawl up the sides again, but he can't, so he'd slide back down and I would squirt him with water. Spiders come for me. I've woken up with one crawling across my body. I've woken up with a millipede crawling across my forehead. I've gone to the bathroom in the middle of the night, and this is probably why I am a person that doesn't use public washrooms that often, if at all. A spider crawled out of the toilet up my thigh. And the funny thing is, whenever you have a bug crawling on you, you always think, no, I know you jump normally the 72,000 times that you think it's a bug, and it's actually just like a random stray hair or, you know, the wind. But this time it's not a bug, so just calm down. And then you're like, but this random stray hair is moving real fast up my arm and not down it, even though my arm is straight like this. God damn. I will make no sense when a bug is on me, because I'll know that there's like a whole wide space here and you're sitting here, and I will still flick it. I will make no sense. It's just what comes natural. Okay, I didn't mean to put your life in jeopardy. I was just doing what comes natural to my body, which is getting that thing off me. And then the day I learned that flies throw up a minimum of 6 times every time they land, and I started thinking, now there's fly vomit on me. I don't let flies land on me either. And my family laughs about it because they're always like, it's just a fly. Just a fly? You won't even let white people touch you because they don't bathe. You gonna let a fly throw up on you 6 times, and that's okay? Oh, no. No, ma'am. Mm-mm. Unless you're a baby, and unless you're somebody I truly, truly care about and love, and you're drunk, and you deserved to be drunk, please do not throw up on me. That's the only 2 categories I can think of. A baby or somebody I care about that I can justify why you're drunk. And that's the only reason. If I can't justify it and you threw up on me, you're dead. You're dead to me. Always. Always and forever. You died to me. So no, I don't want no fly. A fly is a bug that can't get no love from me. It's not happening. Do not land on me. Okay. It's not happening. I've literally gone outside, like, wrapped up, like, okay, what do you guys want to do tonight? No, I'm good. Like, I will wrap myself up, because if you say that they're landing everywhere, that's fine. They will land on the outside of my clothing, not on the inside. It's Green said, what? 6 times? Yes. And the article I read said minimum of 6 times. And I was like, what? So these flies got vertigo? Like, what's happening every time you land? That's a drunk ass fly. Yeah, not for me. Not for me. Gemini Real said they'll drop their eggs on you too. Like, people just letting flies let. That's why I know those World Vision commercials, and they'd have the little African child with the fly. I was like, lies. There's no way you are letting that fly crawl on your face, because every African child I knew, like, that I was friends with, were actually like me. Hey, it's a bug! And running from it. So I was like, there's no way that African child would have, like, I don't know what CGI fly you have on his face. But I know it's a ruse. I just knew they were lying. Screen said, y'all giving me the heebie-jeebies. I'm sorry, I don't know how we got to flies. I don't know. It's the tangents. Okay, and then I read this study. Guys, this is almost ending. Can you believe this? 4 minutes. 4 more minutes. I'm probably just going to end up logging back on, because barely got into religion and sex. Is it shocking though? This is usually what happens. What I wanted to do too, part of my thing, was I made a list of, like, things I believe religion has actually affected when it comes to people's sex and sexuality. Gemini said that's why when flies land on food, you gotta throw it away. Some people don't. And that's why when I go to certain establishments and I see flies, I'm like, and even in the Caribbean, excuse me, which I know a lot of our stuff is open air, but they'll be like, Honey, it's just a fly. Okay. All right, then. Y'all eat it. I'm good. I'll wait for my mother's food. I will wait for my mother's food. I will make something for myself. Thank you. Yeah, it's... I'll let no bugs land on me if I can help it. That's what I say, if I can help it. My problem too, though, is that, like, I'm hairy. I have hair on my arms. And so when mosquitoes bite me, I can't feel it. The funny thing is, I always feel when they're, like, leaving. Because I'll feel right after I get bit. And even with mosquitoes, it's like the bite is not what's itching. It's a sensitivity to their saliva. Because after mosquitoes drain you of your blood, they seal it with their saliva, and that's what causes the itching. And I was like, the worst thing you can do across the board, I don't know about other Black cultures, but when it comes to West Indians, when it comes to Caribbeans, one of the worst things you could do is spit on somebody. Worse than, like, it's even worse than slapping them. It's worse than calling them a cunt. It's worse than, like, showing up at their job, cursing somebody out. Like, you intimate or actually try to spit on someone. And I've known old ass women to tell men that, like, they'd be justified if they slapped that woman. Like, she most suspicious. Nah, you're done with she. Nah, we done with she. I wash my hands of she. Like, that's a no. And so you're telling me that this mosquito has the nerve to bite me, and then he spits on me, and he fly away? No. No. And the minute my parents realized that I was allergic to mosquitoes, which was getting bit on my eyelid and my eyelids swelling to, like, a softball, and my parents, being the concerned parents that they were, taking a ton of pictures. Guys, they made me take a shower, get dressed, and then take pictures outside with my eye swollen. And I was so mad. I was like, Mom, that was the beginning of the end of, like, my trust in my parents. I was just like, who would do this? Who would make their child take pictures of an allergy? And this was before even going to the doctor. Okay? Just want to... We're in Trinidad, like... And what's worse is, like, I woke up to it. So I woke up and I'm like, Mom, I can't open my eye. And so she's walking. Oh, God, look at you. Andie, come on, see this. Oh, God, what happened to... No one's telling me what's wrong with my eye. Guys, so much childhood trauma for me. Like, just so much. But yeah, those are my parents. Okay, so there's 2 minutes. So I just figure I'm just gonna log out and log back in, because conversation's flowing, Instagram's gonna cut me off. But I am gonna read the last couple stuff. So Gemini Road, you said it's the same here. It's green. Said spitting on someone means you don't want your life. Right? Facts. Gemini, spitting on someone can get you killed. It's just, I'm sorry, it is the most disrespectful thing, especially if you've horked up saliva. You know that noise. And you can't, you're dead. You die. Okay, I'm going now. I'm probably, like, shaking green dust everywhere. What I kind of like about it, though, is that when I shake my hair, hey Vashka, and I was saying before in my earlier video, like, when I shake, if it dries hard, it just gets crunchy. But when I shake, like, the green dust is like glitter. It just feels like natural hair magic of glitter everywhere. Yeah, so I love how we got to bugs. Isn't that crazy? The topic's about religion and sex, and we got to bugs. Sometimes I just love seeing where we go with the conversation. How far off topic. Vashka, you said your grandmother's in the hospital. I'm so sorry to hear that. I hope she's doing well, or at least doing better than before. But yeah, there was a study right before, there's a study that I read right before the show, and it said Black Americans retain remarkably strong levels of religious beliefs and practices, and that spiritual core is having an impact on community life in areas from health to economic empowerment. So I feel like something having that large of an influence on our mothers, aunts, uncles, parents, grandparents, whatever, it's hard to break from that when you associate the church with so many different things. I'm not giving excuses to people. It's more just like, I can see why religion would be something that you'd hold on to so hard, and why it would be so hard to let go of it, or let go of parts of it, because even, I mean, it was more taught to me in high school than anywhere else, but there are people that really believe you believe all of it blindly or none of it at all. And it's like, oh my God. It's not that serious. It's not that serious. Vashka, you said, I just started reading Spirituality Before Religions by Professor Gaba. The interesting thing is, that book sounds interesting, first of all. But secondly, because as you said, Spirituality Before Religions, it's interesting when you learn about, like when you do your own research about other religions, because even though we were learning it in high school, I mentioned earlier that in high school we learned world religions. I think it was grade 11 religion. We learned world religion, 5 religions basically. And when you start reading like different things, you realize it's not as bad as your religion might make you think, because there's always like that, ooh, don't learn about that one, because if you think we're crazy, that one's crazy type of mentality. Vashkan, you said, I've lost a lot of friends and relationships because of people's die-hard family beliefs. And I saw Gemini Roll, you said, me too. I'm trying to think if I've never lost friends, but what's interesting is I remember going to school with this girl, and her mom was the only one in, I guess, like our class who was a single mother. She was divorced. And I remember my mom telling me that like they'd had a conversation, because my mom had to know everybody's parents, typical Black mother. And my mom told me how she was ostracized by her family because she was divorced. And that was the 90s. And I was like, just thinking about it, I was like, that was the 90s and people were still getting ostracized for being divorced. Crazy. So I could see people having diehard religious beliefs and being like, you don't believe it, you don't have faith, forget it. And I don't know if my family would have been different. It's just with my grandmother, I don't know, it was weird because she would make those religious statements beside folklore. So I'm like, there was never something that I was like, you have to believe this or blah, blah, blah. But then I also feel like I never brought up my religious questioning to her. So it could have been that too. Okay, so basically, and the study also said that like basically Black people believe white people are heathens because they're not as religious or spiritual as we are. And I was like, might be a little bit of facts, just a tad, just a little bit. Not saying that there can't be Black atheists, but just that most Black people on a whole feel like white people are not as saved. I'm not as saved as we are. It's great. You said, I tend to avoid super religious people. I can't have real conversations with them. It's funny. I can't have real conversations with super religious people. I also can't have conversations with atheists. because I almost feel like they're both on like opposite ends of that spectrum. And so an atheist is just like, I don't even know why you're spiritual as well. And, or do you because it was an atheist that pointed out that I said I was spiritual, but I still said bless you. And I was like, well, that's just natural. Like, I was raised to say that. I was just raised to say that when somebody sneezes. I say it to myself when I sneeze, because sometimes people be rude and don't say it. And just in case that is my soul, I would like to keep it a little longer. I may need it to barter with the devil. Ashkan, you said white people made up religions for other people so they could do hedonistic shit. Gemini Rose said it's great, and I can't either because everything's a sin to them. Extremists. I do think, and that's the thing, I feel like North American society was pretty much taught that any like Muslim faction is an extremist, but really an extremist is just somebody that takes that religion, twists it to their own cause. And like Vashkan said, there are a lot of white people who are part of these religions, created other religions, and did it just to justify the sickness in their head that eventually turned into like social hatred. Not all, I'm not saying all of them. I'm just saying like that eventually came out from not being just in people's heads. Ashkan said it's all first verse because it's great. Said Vash with the bars, right? With the bars. This is not Freestyle Fridays, Vashkan, okay? And I'm still not totally okay with you from last week. Yeah. I didn't forget about the library card. I did not forget, okay? Forget about them books that you ain't bring back. I didn't forget. Still raw. Still hurts. So there's a class here. One of the sex stores, they do workshops and sex courses. I actually had taken, when I was with a male partner, I took a Giving Good Head class, and don't get me wrong, the class itself was taught very well. Like, it was structured very well, but I didn't learn anything new. And I was like, oh. And of course I went with like notebook, pen, like my different highlighters for different reasons, my tabs, like I went with everything. And then I was like, I didn't have to write anything down? Ugh. It's a waste. But no, they have great classes. And so they have one called Sexuality and Religious Shame. And it's literally a workshop, a whole day workshop of working through various religions and the shame that they bring to a person's body and sexuality, and then tools to work through that. So I thought, okay, well, I didn't take the workshop, but I would have loved to, but it's always on like a day that I work. But I was like, what do I see as things that I feel I do, or like maybe my friends and I have talked about, that is, or that could be associated with religion. And I mean things in and around sex, right? So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about. And if you guys have, even if from what I've said, you have an idea, please shout it out, write it, smack it, flip it, rub it down. I don't know why that came in my head. Vashkan said, find forgiveness in your heart. Forgiveness. A lot of people that say the word don't know what it means. Gemini Real, you said you missed last week. Basically. See how Vashkan's saying find forgiveness in your heart? Find forgiveness in your heart. And I said people say the word, but they don't know what it means. I cannot find forgiveness for somebody that does not believe that he did something wrong. Vashkan had books, $89 in fees because he had library books. I'm just like, Vashkan, biracial Billy could have read those books, and he could have been somebody. He could have gone somewhere. He woke up and paid attention, but then Vashkan took the books, so he could. We're not gonna get into it again. We're not, because It's a whole thing. You could watch last week's episode. It's a whole thing, but it's honestly, Gemini, the first time that I was like, I don't know who Vashkhan is, and I don't know if I like this side of him. I said it. Possibly again, because I'm pretty sure I said it last week too. So, how religion affects sexual experiences. I did it, Screen. I remember. I told you. I remember $89. Biracial Billy. He's probably in a bar somewhere telling somebody about how he used to be a football star in high school. And he blew his knee out. And he decided he was going to become a lawyer. So he'd be at the library all the time. But then there was this one book that he couldn't get. And every time he kept going back to the library, it was just out. And then he thought, fuck it, why do I keep going to the library? There's no point. I'll just work at my uncle's mechanic shop. And now Billy's been working there his entire fucking life. All because of who? Okay. Yeah, I'm looking at a room of my peers. You guys agree with me? I figured. Vashkhan said biracial Billy was playing ball. He didn't want to read. How do you know? See, the thing is, Vashkhan, either way answering that question could mess you up. Because if you don't know, you've just lied. If you do know, you willingly held those books from him. Oh my God. It's like premeditated murder. Except you murdered his little black spirit. Because his white spirit would have still been okay. Because, like, the white spirit had privilege. So it was kind of like, you know, we could bounce back from this. Daddy got money. But the black spirit, you killed it. Murder hero. Murder hero. Like, you killed it. Yeah, hashtag, that's actually a good hashtag. Hashtag have white privilege. Hashtag más o menos white privilege. I gave that to my people. That's actually how I pictured you, like, saying it. Like, I gave that to my people. What you talking about? I'm militant. Vashkhan. Okay, so it's Green. There should be a narrator for this. Vashkhan didn't know it at the time. But his one act would start a revolution like no other. That's the music. I was going for kind of like a masterpiece theater. Was I giving masterpiece theater vibes? That was sort of what I was going for. So how religion affects sexual experiences. So the first one I thought of, and this has affected me too, because I thought, okay, what are things that I don't like? And could they be associated with religion? Not saying that everything I don't like is associated with being from a religious family. But the first one that I thought of was asking for what you want. They normally will say, as women, you know, our lives is hard. It's tough being a woman. It was Vashkhan. You know what? It was like a mix of Star Trek, The Next Generation, and I think a little bit of Spaceballs. Because I love that movie so much. Yeah, it was a little Spaceballs in there too. But you're right, because Star Trek The Next Generation, it freaked Captain Jean-Luc Picard of the USS Enterprise. And for some reason, anytime he would get to the part of like, explore new worlds and seek out new missions, I would do that exact move every single time. I would just mouth it to myself. But I would look off into the distance because, of course, those are the best looks. From soap operas to movies. Oh, in a soap opera, when someone's about to like, be like, we can't be together. Why, Jonathan? Because I'm your brother. Like, it was perfect. That's how it was supposed to go. Hey, Mr. Esther, we came back because obviously I don't know how to stop talking. But yeah, you had to look off in the distance. When Captain Jean-Luc Picard was talking, I would have to. Anyways. But yeah, asking for what you want. Even though they say that most women feel this way. I also feel it can be linked to organized religion. You're not meant to ask for what you want. Most religions will tell you that when you pray, when you commune with whichever higher power, it would be selfish to ask for what you want. It's great. He said I just gave you a nerdgasm. And Vashon said Mel Brooks is the I freaking love Mel Brooks. And the amount of people that this man gave like first opportunities to, not to mention the amount of movies that I loved seeing Carrie Ills in. I mean, Princess Bride, Robin Hood Men in Tights. God, I loved. I watched Spaceballs so much that it got banned from the VCR for an entire summer, and I thought I was gonna die. I knew the movie inside out, and I probably can pick up most of it if I watch it now, which is probably gonna happen after this show ends, because you guys have just put it back in my head. But Vashon, that's it perfectly. So, and I feel like a lot of religions feel this way. God will provide when needed. He's never gonna give you more than you can handle. There are teachings like that in the Torah with Judaism. There are teachings in the Nation of Islam like that he will provide for you. You are never going through more than you can handle. So don't be selfish. Don't ask for more. Don't even really ask for enough, because sometimes what you ask for is not worthy of your higher power. Like, you can ask for your mother's cancer you can pray to have your mother's cancer gone. But school supplies for your kid, you can't be making them kind of prayers. Like, there are so many restrictions that you could not be selfish. And so if you think of somebody who's been in that environment, been around that environment, and that includes, as you guys mentioned, like even people judging you for not being as religious as they are, to people who were religious and getting judged for being at Bible study, at church retreats, and being told that like I was a goody two shoes, even though I was like, this is just, at the time, my mother just realized that they put more money into the Catholic school education than the public school. That's the only reason she sent me to Catholic school. My mother was all about, I came to this country for my child to have a better life, and whatever I have to do to get it, I will get it. Because she, basically I just needed somebody in my family who was Catholic. She found this woman that she was friends with, became my godmother, who then became one of the most amazing influences in my life. But like her thing was just about, this is about my child. It's not, I don't care about religion and what they're trying to push on you. Because I also grew up in a household where my parents weren't married until I was 19. So I at least knew that only a mommy and a married daddy can make a baby. I already knew that. So even though we were religious, it was never pushed on me. So I guess it's certain situations I won't understand as well as other people. And that's why I wanted to kind of have the conversation, because I feel like we'd all be able to learn from that. Gemini, you said Mel Brooks made some funny stuff. He's like a comedic genius and like ahead of his time, and so liberal, and did things with diversity that, yeah. We could have a whole show about Mel Brooks. It's so weird. Vashon said a lot of them speak from the outside God perspective. We come from a people that dealt with the internal. That's why a lot of our ancestors believed sex was reaching a godlike state in a physical form. It's funny you say that, because I realized in most of the teachings, even when I looked at like Judaism, Nation of Islam, and certain Christianity, not all, sex is considered to be a very transcendent, godlike state. Because even for the religions that believe you shouldn't have premarital sex, there are still they still believe it's an important part of a marriage. Not even just about having children. There's a lot of texts that will say it's still an important part of marriage. And I actually read, and I'm sorry, I should have written it down, and I might post it later, but there was an article that mentioned that even for the Nation of Islam, they have this loophole, which is like, you can get temporarily married to somebody for anywhere from, I think they said a couple of days to like 60 years or something like that. And you just need approval from, I think, both, like written approval from both families. I apologize if I'm getting this wrong, but they were like, technically that can be a loophole. It's just whether people use it or not, that you could literally, because you can break, sorry, I should have mentioned, you can break that marriage without it ever being considered like a divorce or anything like that, because it's considered a temporary marriage. And so it is kind of a loophole to be able to have sex and then still not be married to the person, but still not get in trouble in a sense. And I was like, I didn't even to have that, to me is, that I was shocked even to know that there's something that could be considered a loophole. Does that make sense? Gemini, you said, Vashcon, that's interesting. Yeah, like what, it really was about, he's absolutely right, reaching a godlike state. So the first one about asking for what you want, I feel like a lot of people who've been, I don't want to, influenced, traumatized by religion, it's very hard to get to that point of even just saying like, suck my dick, eat me, like those very direct statements. It's harder to do that. It's a lot easier to say like, make me do it, or something like that, or I'm going to come, or something like that. But to be forceful and ask or demand what you want, not easy at all. And I know for myself that was a big thing early on in my sex splits, was how to ask for what I want and not feel like I'm being selfish. And that's what when I was learning more about myself, that's what I had to explore. Like, why do you think it's selfish to ask for what you want? And yet when your partner does, you're not, like, you don't even think like, how dare she? Oh, that's so rude. Like, I don't do it to her. No, I wouldn't think that. Mr. James Up, you said sex loopholes. Yeah, there are loopholes. Nobody told me about this. So yeah, I think number one for me, I said, was I feel like religion can influence you being able to ask for what you want or to demand what you want. Ashkan said, one of my exes was so hindered from family and religious ties. She felt bad for enjoying sex the way she did. A lot of people feel that way. And not even just women. I've met Black men who are like, yeah, or not even, like, it may not be in the same way that they project that, but I met Black men that would be like, yeah, they were convinced they're going to hell. So it was kind of like, I might as well just keep having premarital sex because I'm definitely going to hell. They'd be the ones like making it to church every Sunday to like be on their knees praying for their sins. And when I was going to Catholic retreats and stuff like that, I knew guys and girls that like went to confession on a regular freaking basis. I was like, there's nothing to confess. Nada. Like, you went yesterday. What did you do in a 24-hour period that you need to confess to God? Because if I was God, I'd be like, Sandra, again? Like, good Lord, girl, I was with you last night. Like, I saw everything you did for the day and the night. You ain't do nothing. Like, it was crazy. I knew people that really took certain beliefs, and especially like the commandments, so much to heart that they felt like I knew a friend that beat herself up for a couple months for quote unquote not honoring her father and mother, which I was like, that is the broadest of statements you can make. What is the definition of honoring them? Like, the word honor back then compared to its translation over hundreds of years, you think it means the same thing? Like, bad doesn't even mean the same thing. Like, the minute Michael changed, because that's what it was for me, the minute Michael changed the definition of that word, you always had a little, like, someone would be like, you know what, it was bad. Like, bad? Or like just bad? Like, I need clarification, because it no longer means that was a horrible event. It could mean that was the party of the century that I missed. Mr. SJ said some get off on the confession. I think if it's a healthy turn on, like, you know yourself, you're aware, and that turns you on, fine. But feeling shame at what you're doing and going to confession to confess that what you did was disgusting, I'm more talking about that. That's the part that it's like, that gives me pause. But if you're going because it's a kink of yours, to each their own, okay? But most people I knew were going because they felt ashamed at what they thought was bad and basically breaking a law. That's what it was seen. A commandment was seen the same as not littering or jaywalking. And that's the other thing. I was like, but you jaywalk. Y'all will park at the free parking for the church and jaywalk across the street and go into the Lord's house and tell me, do not disobey any of these laws, and then jaywalk back across the street. It doesn't make sense. And I'm a person that I feel like it's nerd culture. People think I ask questions because I'm stuck up or trying to point out that they're stupid or something, but it's because I actually don't understand. Like, I'm actually like, what? Because that is on par with that. So then why is this okay and this isn't? And honestly, I just more need, like, why do you think it's that way? But usually when I ask that question, because I know even for myself, if a person's like, so that light's over there and that's not there, you instantly go into explanation mode. You instantly go into, oh my God, this person is judging me, and so now I must tell them why I do that. When sometimes people like myself honestly just want to know why it's there. And the only person when I was growing up who understood that was my mom, which is a blessing and a curse, because it was like, she got that when I asked questions and other people thought I was being rude, it was because she just had to be like, because this light works and gives off light this way, and that one would get off this way, and it has a radius and it would get enough light to the room. Oh, okay. That's, and then I'm done. I wouldn't have so many questions. It was more just like, if you were like, oh, because it has to be. Well, no, a light doesn't have to be there. But why is it there? And that would be me being rude. And it took a while for me to realize, like, I can't judge people for that, because one, I do it myself. If someone says, like, I'm trying to think. If somebody's like, oh, it's a bit late, instantly, I wouldn't think like, how dare you say it's a bit late? I could be up anytime I want. No, I'm thinking like, okay, I should explain to them, like, well, I have insomnia, that's why I'm up. And really and truly, the person could just be trying to make conversation. Like, that's their way of being like, hey, how are you? What are you up to? And my instinct would be to be like, okay, I gotta explain why I'm up so that it justifies why I'm doing it. That's more about me than the other person. And even though I know that, I at least want to make people aware, in the same way that I like to know stuff. I'm like, I let people know, hey, when I say stuff like this, even though I know for myself, I would take it rudely. So I don't blame you if you did, but I didn't mean it rudely. And then I let people, when I do know, I'm like, yes, I meant that to be rude. I was purposely trying to be rude to you because I don't like you. So you at least always, you get at least a 97%. I'm keeping it real. You always know. You're like, no, she actually told me she was trying to be rude, so I know it. Like, so it's just about letting you know, letting you know. It's green. You again? An impure thought? It's true, right? That is true. It was so impure. I need to like cleanse myself. Gemini wrote, you said exactly, Andy. I ask a lot of questions too. It's a help me understanding question. Yeah, I don't, and it's not even a judgment because I'm the first to say I have no right to be judging anybody. I mean, I make mistakes. I have flaws. I've hurt people in my life. I have regrets. So and personally for me, guys, just to say it, I believe all humans have regrets, whether big or small. Everyone has one. It's impossible. I feel it's impossible to go through life having one. So when I say I have regrets, because sometimes I'll say that to people and they're like, no, you shouldn't, life should not have any regrets. And I'm like, Even the best of people will be like, oh, I wish I had taken that karate class or that role that I passed up that somebody else won an Oscar for. Maybe if I went back, I would have done it differently. So yeah, just putting that out there. But I wouldn't judge the person, because usually when people are like I've even had friends who are like, I don't want to tell you, but I'm cheating on my spouse. And it's like, I'm sorry you're going through that, but it does, unless it affects me having to go to work the day that I have to go to work, do you? Unless it affects work. And if it affects it in a good way where you're like, I'm cheating on my wife and as a result, like, you're going to get thousands of dollars and never have to work again, I'd be like, honestly, I support you in everything that you do. Everything. Every little thing you do. Like, I'd be supportive because I don't have to work. But if what you're doing only affects your life and not mine, as long as you are not hurting yourself or somebody else, go right on ahead. It got nothing to do with me. Gemini, you said that's the analytical part of you. Vashkan, you said people hold their conflictive dissonance as truth. Since they don't have an answer, they don't consider it a valid question. They fight themselves, want to know. They fight themselves, want to know, but it's a sin to question authority in some religions. And that's the thing. It is a sin to question. Faith is considered to be blind for some religions. Hey, Ria, that you're not, if you don't believe it, asking questions means you don't understand. Okay, if you're saying to me, but grandma, I prayed and nothing happened. Why? Why would you ask that higher power any questions? They are too high to listen to your meek little ass. Even though they love you with all of their hearts and would do anything for you, like die, they do not listen to your problems. But I wasn't, even though I know people that felt that way, my immediate authority figures, they believed that you talk to God all the time. Because I remember telling my grandmother one time, like, I don't like getting on my knees and praying. When I got older, due to certain situations, it used to make me very nervous. And I wasn't like touched in a Catholic school. I was definitely doing the touching in a Catholic school. I did go to an all-girls school. But I would always feel scared to have my eyes closed, and head like bowed. I eventually worked through that in therapy, but yeah, it used to make me scared, and I was like, how am I able to talk to God if I can't do that? And my grandmother was like, God is all around us. Like, he is always here. He is always watching. If you want to talk to him, you don't need a four-walled church. You can talk to him at any time. That's when he said, you gotta run. Have a good night, hon. Gotta get my nephew ready for his first day of school. Oh my God. Take tons of pictures and then post them so I can see. Oh, first day of school. Oh my gosh. I don't even want to think about it. Kind of miss it a little bit. Not even just for myself. I mean, for me, I was a nerd. I actually loved back to school shopping. The first day of school, I wouldn't sleep the night before. I was just freaking excited. I probably chose my outfit about 17 times. My mother sometimes would stand. I remember she would stand in my doorway and just look at me sometimes and be like, who are you? She's like, you know, your mother did not like to do homework. I was like, what? You didn't like to do homework? so what did you do? Like, it was, yeah. And then I got to university. I don't know how I got by. Okay, so just to let you guys know, there's 6 items on my list, so I'm gonna try not to take as long. But number 2 is cleanliness. Now, this is the one that I added. I didn't see this anywhere. This was my personal addition, because I felt like most of my friends that also grew up in religious households, whether better or worse than myself, had this thing of not liking cum. They didn't want you to come on them, anywhere on them. Like, just ew, disgusting. If you did, they were the type to be like, oh my God, I'm gonna wait until he wipes it off me, and then I can actually move the rest of my body. And I realized that, or someone who, after they have sex, literally jumps up and goes and takes a shower. All of that is like, yes, it's cleaning fluids off your body, but it's cleaning, it's cleansing, it's washing shame down a drain. And I realized, even for myself, I mean, granted, I honestly feel that my thing about, I don't like being spit on, and I honestly feel that comes from, like, being West Indian and being told that if anybody spit on me, like, kill them. Man, woman, or child, it didn't matter. But even that, of not liking to be spit on, I associated with religion. Like, religion was about being clean and chaste and pure virtue. That I'm pretty sure they weren't thinking of me, like, on all fours with, like, a collar and somebody coming all over my back or my face. So I should probably, like, and I actually used to be the type of person that not necessarily jump out of bed, but I need to take a shower, like, pretty quickly. Like, I can't be laying too long in these juices. And it's funny, I had certain relationships that they felt I was not intimate enough with them because of that reason. Because they'd be like, oh, let's just lay here. I'm like, okay, but, like, for how long though are we? Because, like, I don't mind laying with you, but, like, can we shower and then come back? Maybe change the sheets, or, like, make up the bed. Like, so it took a while for me to be comfortable with that. That I feel like that is an aspect that could be, or could affect somebody who's been influenced or traumatized by religion. That cleanliness is a huge factor. Having somebody come on them is just, and don't get me wrong, I know there are some women out there, Black women, who just don't like to have come on them. That's just how they feel. I'm saying, for my personal experience, the ones that I have met have had like, they've had a religious background. They've grown up in a religion, an organized religion, a religion with, like, strict rules on propriety and sex and sexuality. So I always thought that could be a reason why so many Black women I'd met were like, you let him come on you? Like, you're okay? You like it? What? That's crazy. Like, you don't just do it for him? You asked, you told him to? Oh my God. Like, because even the women I knew who allowed it to happen, that's the perfect sentence for them. They allowed it to happen. They were doing it for the partner. They weren't doing it for themselves. Or they weren't doing it for the moment. It was more like to keep him happy, I have to do this. Sorry. So, Gemini, you said, me too, loved it. Clothes, shoes, school supplies, lunchbox. Right? I just loved, and I loved color coding stuff. Still a part of me. And different highlighters would be different things, which was my system. Like, it's sad. It was my system from grade school, but that would sometimes even be like, when I would write my notes for tests, different highlights meant different classes rather than, yeah, it was just a whole system. Complete nerd. Rhea, you said, I never thought about it that way, but that's probably why I don't like being come on. I honestly think it is, because, and even for Catholic Church, that godmother that I told you about that influenced me, she was a Catholic nun. So I would also go to Italian mass, and like the amount of times, you know, like there's so much in the Catholic religion about cleansing your hands. And I know other religions too, like even baptism is a cleansing and like there's always cleansings, rebirths, being reborn, coming out of the, like, so having you already have a slight thing in the back of your head that, okay, I know I'm probably not going to go to hell for this, but I also kind of don't know if I won't. I don't really know for sure. So I could. And now I'm also being like, I'm already being unclean, but then I'm also allowing evidence of that action on my body. Oh God, no. Like I was, even, and I also think it's a reason why for a long while, when a guy or girl would go down on me, kissing them afterwards was very awkward for me. Not because I thought that anything down there was unclean, because obviously as Black people, we're like, I will shower 5 times a day if I have to. Like, I knew that I cleaned myself. I just more was like, that's a fluid. Like, I'm not going to kiss you no matter what fluid's on your face. So it has nothing to do with me not be, and that was the thing. Most people I knew, the argument that they thought was the reasoning for that is because so you won't even kiss, it's your stuff, you won't even kiss me. And I'm like, I couldn't understand what it was. Cause I'm like, that one day I just really thought about it. I was like, yeah, why wouldn't I? Cause I'm not bothered by my scent. I'm not bothered by being wet. Why am I bothered by that then wetness being on somebody's face and them kissing me? I was just like, this is disgusting. Like, no, oh my God, please don't. Like, I wanted no parts. And the funny thing is, I was also in the reverse. If I went down on you, I don't want to kiss you afterwards. And I had both men and women that would be completely comfortable with it. And I was like, I'm a crap. No, you won't. Oh no, you won't. Oh no, you won't. Like, it's not happening. So knowing that I was like across the board, I'm like, nah, I'm not. I wanted to figure out why that was, because I knew I loved sex. And I felt like that was one thing for me, excuse me, not saying for anybody else, but I felt like for me, that was one thing that was holding me back from continuing my sexual journey. It's Green, you said, I still believe pussy juice makes my facial hair grow. Y'all be saying that so much. And I hate it because I'm like, I know scientifically you can't prove that, but I'm convinced. It's like when I was younger and my mom was like, your ass is getting bigger. You might want to stop hitting it from the back so much. And I was like, what? Mom? But wait, what? Is that real? Can someone confirm this? Like, my bum was looking good though. Yeah, so, and Gemini rule, you're laughing too. Lots of men say that. They really do. And I'm always like, is it true? I mean, if you want to believe it's true and you want to experiment, I mean, I will be the guinea pig. Yes, I will. But, yeah, okay, so, didn't I say I was going to try to make it fast? I really didn't. Number 3 is how you look. How you look in bed. So even something as simple as a partner who doesn't like to ride, a partner who doesn't like to be in front of the mirror, partner who gets very uncomfortable being filmed and stuff like that, because we all know most religions speak of modesty. Not even just with women, just modesty in general. You have to be modest, especially if you're unmarried. Like, both sides should be modest. Yes, a woman more so than a man. And nudity for most of those religions is frowned upon, or it has restrictions and rules on it. It's Green said, my beard is the scientific proof. I'm done. 4 out of 5 men with beards do agree. 4 out of 5 dentists recommend. It's, yeah, so nudity being frowned upon, to then being in an environment where someone's like, yeah, just get buck naked in the light, in the day, in the brightness of the day. So see, what you're gonna do is you're gonna close those blinds. You're gonna take that light off. You're gonna take off all the lights downstairs as well. I don't care that we can't see them from here. And if you can you call the power company and literally just take out the whole Eastern Seaboard? Thanks. Lights on. It took me also a very long time to be comfortable with lights on. And obviously there's layers of that, being a woman and being insecure about my body, and maybe who I was with and if they were as sensitive to that, stuff like that, obviously. But I think being nude and how the relationship that nudity has to modesty, and if you're in a religion where it's even hard for people who are in a religion that really do believe some of those teachings, but not all. And I honestly felt like I fell into that category, and it wasn't until I heard the term spiritual, I was like, okay, then I feel like that's what I fall under. Because I used to be like, I'm just not a practicing Catholic. Like, there's teachings that I believe in. I believe in teachings of love and helping your fellow man and doing good for the community and for other people, and how that can benefit your own spirit. But I don't believe in using a religion to promote slavery or to promote killing transgendered people or homosexuals. So it was like, well, I believe that, but I don't believe that. And I kind of believe that if you can explain the meaning of it. And I like that, but like the first part of the sentence, not the rest of it. The sentence is like 5 pages long. It was, so yeah, until I knew what spiritual was, it was very hard when people would be like, okay, but eventually you might get to the topic of religion or politics and you'll say something. And especially when it's somebody that doesn't agree with you, it'd be like, okay, well then what are you? And I was like, I don't even know how to explain it, because I don't want to say that I'm not religious, because I do believe in, I'm not an atheist. There are stuff I do believe in, that an atheist would tell me, no, you got something in you. But for somebody who identifies themselves proudly and strongly as, let's say, a Baptist, like what It's Green mentioned, they would not be happy with my liberal beliefs. And so I feel like spirituality, maybe like in the last, I want to say when I came out of university. So like around 2006, 2007-ish. And if you guys don't agree, you can say so, but that it was used and people took it seriously. Because I feel like at one point you said you were spiritual and people thought you were probably a hippie that like read tarot cards and followed the phases of the moon, and you know what I mean, like read astrology when you said spiritual. Whereas now I can say it and a lot more people are open about it, or like even just open about not asking what I mean by spirituality. Yeah, so I don't know, I just feel like I'm glad that I have a word now for it. And I don't feel like, I feel like now there's so many different people we meet that have changed the faces of certain religions when they pertain to the Black community. Even though I feel like we always knew at the end of the day that religion wasn't that important. And I'm not talking about the people who are hella religious and stick to certain definitions. I feel like if you can have a movement where a pastor and a man who joins the Nation of Islam can both fight for civil rights, like we knew that at the end of the day, if we have to make serious decisions, it's going to be with other people who are Black, no matter what religion they belong to. Because I was having a conversation about like seeing more positive images of people who are Muslim, and my cousin was like, he was like, but do you feel Black people had that problem? Because he's like, I feel it's more non-Black people having the problem of Nation of Islam. But I'm like, there are some Black people that have certain misconceptions about Muslims, and even about Jewish people, because my sister-in-law is Jewish. I have a friend also who is Jewish, and My friend's actually Trinidadian and Jewish. I also went, oh sorry, my university also was majority funded by Jewish people. So we actually got Jewish holidays off. I was like, I don't know why. I don't know why y'all be hating on Jews. These holidays are bomb. Especially because Yom Kippur and Rosh Hashanah are in September. Literally, we'd go back to school after Labor Day. And then as soon as I was getting tired of school, which was usually 10 days, it'd be a holiday. I was like, this is the greatest school ever. Okay? For Hanukkah? Nary an exam or a class was had that day. Or any of the days of Hanukkah. I was like, y'all be hating too much on Jewish people. They give us the best holidays. The best. And guess what? I'm still going to give you an excuse on the Tuesday as to why my paper is not done. My dog died. Dog died always worked with my white professors. Dog or cat, depending on who I was talking to. But, yeah. That was, my grandpa died like 8 times in university. It was crazy. To the point where I kind of forgot one time, and they were like, but I thought you said that grandpa died. I'm like, no, my maternal grandfather died. I'm talking about my paternal grandfather. I'm just saying, Catholic schoolgirls can lie very well. Yeah. I shouldn't be saying that. I really shouldn't, because someone's going to be like, Rhea said, sorry, it's green. You said religion is definitely used to keep certain people, women, modest. Very true, it's green. Rhea said, I think people are more open about accepting spiritual as an answer, but not necessarily that they understand. I think because it's such a broad word, I feel like it can mean anything to anybody. Like, spiritual can mean something completely different to you than it means to me, even though we both may identify as being spiritual. It's green said, Jews are cool with me. So many holidays. All the matzah crackers, please. I love it. Ooh. The Jewish food. The food, like, I'm not kicking them out just for that. The food. The food. And the spread on Sundays? Oh. Sunday brunch at a Jewish house is like, it's like Disneyland for anyone that loves their belly. It's so much food. And like, Jewish women are kind of like black moms in that they always want you fed, and they always think you're beautiful, and they always don't understand why you're single. Always. They're just the greatest. Why are you sitting here by yourself? Oh my God, have you met my nephew? Like, they want to just help you with every aspect of your life. I just love them. I love them so much. My sister-in-law, when I was younger and I used to go visit her in the summer when I was a teenager, I would get there and she'd be like, oh my God, okay, so I know that you like the cinnamon rolls without the raisins, so the ones for you, I put down here. You see the first level of the fridge, I put it there, okay? And then I know that she would buy like all of my favorite snacks and then show me like where she's put in the house just to make sure that nobody else eats my snacks. Her entire household, they don't eat pork, and she would buy bacon for me. I was like, this is huge. And so I feel like even with her influence, I was like, she's Jewish, and I'm taught that that's a religion that won't like me because I'm Catholic, yet this woman loves me. Doesn't make sense. So for me, it was more like, I don't understand. Because she's Jewish, but she's really nice, and you're telling me Jewish people aren't nice, so I'm confused. That's where I was like, obviously that religion has to have beliefs of caring for people and just being loving for your fellow man, because that's exactly how she is. Gemini said matzo, that's literally what I was thinking, matzo ball soup. So good. So good. Like, honestly, y'all, if I can come back in another lifetime as like a Jewish man or an Italian man, because I know I'm being fed. okay? My mother's gonna love me, first of all, no matter what I do. Like, if I'm, like, my son, Paulie, is amazing. Like, she's gonna love me. And then I would be fed all the time. Do you guys know that, like, they can show up at their parents' house and be like, Mom, what'd you eat? Like, sorry, Mom, what'd you make? And won't get a response of, nothing for you. Don't you live somewhere else? I made food. Why are you asking me that? Like, you won't get any rude answers. The most you might get is a, oh my God, Paulie, you're getting so small. And she's literally taking out containers. Containers and containers. And containers and containers. And containers. And that's not even dessert yet. I want to come back as an Italian man or a Jewish man. Into the universe. That's what I'm doing. Putting that into the universe because I like being fed. I also like the idea that someone is always going to think everything I do is right. I love that idea. Especially if I get to relive high school again. Yo, not even just high school, grade school. Grade school with West Indian parents, like, they walk in like, what do you do? What do you do? Ma'am, we just called because this other child hit your child. Didn't I tell you if somebody hit you, hit them back? So why you have me out? You know how much I had to take off work. I had to take a whole vacation day when you get me half. Like, we know about vacation days at like 8 years old. Like, why? Why do 8-year-old Black children know about vacation days? Why do they know their mother's lunch schedules? Like, why did we know those things? But that wouldn't happen. My Italian friends, their parents would come into school distraught. Distraught. Where is my daughter, Antonella? Where is Antonella? Baby, hold on, sir. Antonella, are you okay? Look at daddy. Look at daddy. Are you okay? All right. I brought you a chocolate. Here you go. What are you guys doing to my child? Like, literally. Man, how come she came in, like, ready to fight for her child, and my mom was ready to fight her child? What did you do? What you do? No, God, child. I actually didn't do anything, Mom. They're giving me an award. Well, why would they choose to do it in the middle of the day? They couldn't do it on a Saturday. I up Saturday. We just get up early. Why they had to do it in the middle of the day? Why you didn't tell them? You didn't tell them your mother does work. You said she doesn't stay at home. You see this child? Up to now, I haven't even responded to her. So I'd just like to come back and have a childhood where, one, I got to stay in a stroller. I got to be carried. I never heard, you too big for that, you know. You're too big for that. I'd like one of those childhoods, and I feel like it can only happen with an Italian man or a Jewish man as my second body. Guys, thanks for tuning in. I know I didn't finish the list. I didn't. The other ones were not being on the same wavelength with your partner, not doing sex right, and taking your time in bed. Like, it's very hard to take your time. So yeah, there's like 30 seconds left. Thank you so much. Can't believe we did a 2-hour again. But as you know, the conversation went from religion to bugs. It's Green learned he's never gonna let flies land on him ever again. Vashkon still has not been forgiven for last week's incident. Y'all know, if you don't, go watch last week's episode. As It's Green says, my hype man, always dope. Rhea said that was my mom though. Rhea, our moms can't meet. I'm convinced. Cannot meet. Okay.